let me start off this review by saying that yes, Aku's voice has finally been, has finally had some lines, and yes, as suspected, the voice is Greg Baldwin, the person who's been taking over most of Mako's roles. And I will talk about what I think about what Greg Baldwin did with the role, but not in this video. Later this week, I will be releasing another episode of Voice Actor Reviews, and it will be over Greg Baldwin's performance of Aku. I will not talk about at all what I thought about his performance in this review. I just wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way right now before I got ahead and got into this. Okay, so episode 2 of season 5, here we go. So, wow, what an episode, so much to talk about, so much to go over. So let us start here at the beginning. We see Aku here in his little hideout, and we get these weird creatures that go up to him and try to give him an offering to help him out or something, and he's just like, what have you done? This is disgusting. You guys are disgusting. I just cleaned these floors. Get out of here now before I kill you. And we get to see that the doctors, or not the doctors, I should say, I guess the scientists from Tale of XCIII from season 4 of the original series make a comeback here, and they come and they talk to Aku and they say that we have finally come up with a brand new version of the Beetle robots, and we believe this is what's going to finally kill the samurai, and this is going to be what defeats him. But Aku ends up coming back and saying, I don't care about whether or not I kill the samurai anymore. You know, it's been 50 years, and you know, I haven't seen him since. You know, I don't really care, you know, what happens to him at all. And he says, if you want to kill him, go ahead. But as for me, I don't really care. But then he sinks down below, and we get to see that he actually has a therapist, but it's funnily enough, his therapist is himself. Because as you can see, his body is so long, it becomes another being that he just shapeshifts into a therapist. And he's talking to the therapist about Samurai Jack, but as he's about to say the samurai, the therapist cuts him off and says, we don't say his name around here, that's taboo. But Aku is just basically like, it's been 50 years, and you know, I thought that if I didn't do anything, and because he hasn't done anything, eventually he would just die. He would just finally just leave us alone. But it's been 50 years, and even Aku has noticed that time hasn't been affecting Jack at all. He hasn't aged. And so Aku ends up screeching with his therapist, and they both go, we would just hope he would just die, you know, and they just start screaming together. And we get an interesting parallel because it continues to switch back and forth between this little wolf creature and Jack. This wolf is just walking, and he ends up coming towards these pack of like alien creatures that this lone white wolf, I'm going to keep calling him Simba the White Lion because that's kind of what he looks like, he's going to fight them alone. And then it immediately switches over to Jack, where Jack is riding on his motorcycle, and Jack also comes upon creatures that he has to fight by himself, which are Aku's minions that we saw last episode, the quote-unquote daughters of Aku. Jack gets out of his motorcycle, begins to check his surroundings, and then we get to see a giant, the Beetleborg robot that the scientist had showed, as supposedly gonna be the thing to kill him, and he defeats it in one attack, right? And then as he defeats it, he goes to go pick up his staff and get back on his motorcycle, and he begins to ride off, only to get intercepted by the daughters of Aku. And these people are moving so quickly to the point where he can't even see them. Like, they're punching him and jumping all around to the point where Jack, he doesn't even know how to retaliate. He pulls out a gun and tries to shoot them a little bit, but he misses because they're moving so fast. And it gets to the point where Jack is just basically punching randomly in the air, hoping one of his punches will connect. That's how fast they're moving. But luckily, they punch him towards his motorcycle, and he had a machine gun turret hidden in there. Yanks it out and just starts going to town on the trees and everything, hoping he's going to kill them. And again, we get another shot back at this one white wolf, son of the white lion, as I'm calling him, as they're continuing to fight these weird creatures. We get to see a little blood here. This is our first glimpse of blood ever since the new series has started, because we're getting some alien green blood from the other creatures, but the other creatures slashed the white lion, and he got red blood, like legit blood. Jack's turret ends up getting taken away from him, but he begins to run away and throw a connection of bombs behind him, and hopefully trying to get them away from him. But here's a scene I think is really interesting. Jack finds this thing to hide underneath and Jack ends up having, I think we're finally beginning to see that Jack has finally become insane. Like, I think what we've been seeing from both last episode and finally this episode is, I think we finally are getting glimpses that seem to confirm that Jack has become insane. Jack has clearly become crazy, because he is beginning to have visions of his older self, and his older self is talking to him. And what I find really interesting about this scene is that the older vision of him, I can't tell if he's trying to tell new Jack to quickly find a way home, or if he's telling him that he should commit suicide and kill himself. I can't seem to figure out which it is, and I'm starting to lean more towards the latter, if only because he keeps telling him that there's no more hope, there's no more honor. Honor doesn't exist here anymore. We've been here too long. And he continues to tell him, our ancestors are waiting. They've been waiting for us. Let's go see them now. Basically saying that they're waiting up in heaven. Kill yourself so we can go see them now, or have Aku's minions kill you now. That's how I interpreted it, but you could easily interpret that as hurry up and find another way home, back to the past. But I interpreted it as him trying to get him to kill himself, because that's what I think it is. But anyways, Jack ends up convincing himself that, no, I can do it, I always find a way. And he says they're just robots. He's convinced that these people that are chasing him, the daughters of Aku, are just robots, which is true, because everything that's been chasing him throughout the entire original series has always been a robot, has always been a machine. But he doesn't know that what's chasing him is flesh and blood, just like him. He ends up jumping out of this thing he's hiding under in an attempt to make it towards some blockade, and he's hoping that they won't notice him, as it's raining now, and he is listening closely to his surroundings, and like not even 5 feet from where he jumped out of, he begins to hear footsteps. He begins to hear that they are coming towards him, and chasing him down. He ends up finally running towards that blockade, that little tower, and they follow him inside. Once inside, he is hiding very well, or at least he ran much further than they thought he was going to go to, and they end up trying to look around for him because they can't find him. And it ends up getting so dark to the point where these little light buds, these little fireflies, are lighting the way almost in these dark areas. And they end up having a really cool fight scene in the dark, where basically the only way they're able to see each other is their weapons clanging up against the wall and making a spark, which you can barely are able to see your opponent. And she's using 2 sais, but he ends up hitting her, making her drop 1, so he's using that one as another weapon. But another one of the sisters comes in who's got some, like, I don't know, whip and chain kind of thing going on, trying to hit him with it. Jack ends up escaping and trying to run away. That's most of what this episode is him just basically trying to get away from them, and they just keep intercepting him. We get a really cool scene where he tries to dive underneath this water, but I thought this was kind of almost unrealistic because they're moving pretty fast for being underwater, and as a person who likes to swim on occasion, I'm telling you right now, it's not that easy to just swing something at that kind of a speed while underwater. Anyways, he jumps out of the water and is running, and he ends up falling in this hole that was in the ground, and he finds a very good hiding spot inside of one of these coffins that's in this area, and we get an absolutely beautiful scene. This scene is beautiful of them just basically trying to search for Jack, and there's no dialogue. There's not even any sound effects. It's literally the visual and the music. It's an absolutely stunning, beautiful scene. And we see him basically holding the sword while in this coffin, begging, for his own life, knowing that he's about to die. And he sees this firefly that's stuck inside of his thing as its light begins to go out, knowing that when it goes out, he's going to need to react because they probably already know where he is. And wouldn't you know it, right as the light goes out, the coffin he's in, he opens it up and he jumps out right at the last second as they slam down their swords and try to get in a good shot at him. They end up basically bouncing him around almost this whole place just by continuing to hit him, and then another person hits him, and they are just throwing him around everywhere, like throwing him through all these coffins and everything. It's crazy. He ends up getting this axe from this old dead king that was up on the top there, who was just a skeleton, but he ends up grabbing its axe and tries to fight back. He ends up getting out of that area where all those coffins were and is just starting to run for his life, knowing that at any second he could be killed easily. Now here's a scene that's really... This is the scene where Jack knows that this is... something is different, something's not right. He's fighting one of the girls because one of the girls finally, gets to him. One of the girls finally tracks him down and starts having a one-on-one with him. Jack ends up basically using that axe that he got and is fighting with her, does a turnaround, slits her throat. Jack watches as this person he fought literally goes down to the ground with blood on the wall, and his blood starts to just go everywhere on the floor. All of a sudden, the cracked mask that she had finally cracks off, and Jack can see that the people he's been fighting aren't robots. They're humans just like him. And Jack has a bit of a moment of almost like, what have I done? But he doesn't really have time to relish on this moment because he got stabbed as well. And finally the pain of that kicked in, and, he's feeling the pain from this. And he's looking back down at the body, still thinking, what have I done? But again, he doesn't really have time to react because now he can hear the footsteps of the other sisters as they start to come for him. He sees a way out, and he begins to tap a sword up against the wall. If I remember correctly, that's the sword that was used last episode, where anything that it touched, like anything that sword touched, it would explode. So he walks along and just starts touching all these places against the wall with the sword, and then he jumps out into the water, and everything in that castle, or the temple, just explodes. Jack falls into the water, and there's blood everywhere. It cuts away back to the wolf, where the wolf is now an absolutely bloodied mess, and the wolf has successfully killed everybody else, but the wolf might have ended up killing itself because it's covered in blood and it seems unconscious. And that's where the episode ends. This was incredible, guys. This was absolutely incredible. Though I think what's making this such a fun ride for me is the fact that I marathoned through the first 4 seasons literally during the week of. So I got so much Samurai Jack, and then I immediately followed that up by season 5. And everything now is starting to feel like such classic right now because they brought back the old Cartoon Network Studios logo at the end of the episode. It opens up and you see Jack and he squints. The Toonami block that it's on right now, they just switched back over to the Tom 2 era logos, with all the pipes and everything. So everything is looking really good. Be on the lookout for my voice actor reviews episode where I talk about Aku's voice. I really do plan on going in depth because there's a lot I do want to talk about what I do and don't like about the voice. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below what you guys thought. I thought this was fucking fantastic. and I cannot wait for next week. So comment down below, and I guess I'll catch you guys later. Bye.